Hey, and welcome back. Today we are starting Reclaiming You After Narcissistic Abuse. This is a series where we begin to understand what happened and learn how to move forward. In this series, I will teach you how to stop pretending, stop performing, and start telling the truth. If you have spent years overgiving, overanalyzing, and wondering how you became a stranger in your own life, then this is absolutely for you, because healing after narcissistic abuse isn't about fixing yourself, it's about finding yourself. Some of us for the first time. You've spent enough time trying to understand them. Now it's time to understand you. You spent years saying yes when you meant no, years walking on eggshells, managing his moods, trying to keep the peace. You disappeared completely in that marriage, piece by piece, until you could barely recognize yourself. And now you're not just hurting. You are wondering how you'll ever forgive yourself for letting it get this far, how you, the strong one, the smart one, got duped. The shame often feels unbearable. The embarrassment is paralyzing. But here's what you have to know to heal. You are not crazy. You are not broken. You were conditioned to doubt your instincts, to override your truth, and to keep the illusion alive. This series is your roadmap back, because this isn't about fixing what's wrong with you. It's about remembering who you are underneath the survival. But first, I'm Janice Holland, a licensed therapist, and I am the trauma teacher. I'm here to help you step out of performative living, where people-pleasing and self-abandonment thrive, and into courageous living, where your voice leads, your choices align with your values, and your life finally belongs to you. All right, before we talk about healing, we need to talk about why you stayed. Because until you understand that, shame will keep you stuck, replaying every moment, trying to figure out how you missed all the red flags or ignored them. When you've lived in a relationship built on gaslighting, control, and emotional manipulation, your body doesn't recognize danger the way it used to. Your nervous system actually adapts to survive it. First, you stayed because of potential, because you saw who he could be, not who he was. You remembered the early days, the charm, the connection, the promises. You believed if you just loved harder, communicated better, or sacrificed more, it would get back to that. But that pattern didn't start with him. For most of us, it started long before. You learned early that love was about sacrifice, that being good meant meeting everyone else's needs before your own. You were praised for being understanding, patient, selfless. So when this relationship came along, one that required you to overgive, to prove your worth, to keep the peace, it didn't feel foreign. It felt very familiar. Your nervous system recognized the pattern as home, not because it was healthy, but because it was known. So when chaos arrived, your body didn't sound the alarm. It leaned in. It said, I know how to do this. This is why you stayed, not because you were weak or foolish or lacked self-respect, but because your entire system was operating off an old roadmap, one where love and pain had always lived side by side. This isn't about blame. We aren't here to blame your parents, your ex, or yourself. Blame keeps you circling the same story. Understanding moves you forward. This is about awareness and responsibility, not for what happened to you, but for what happens next. Because healing isn't about getting over him. It's about coming back to you. It's about retraining your body and your brain to know peace as safety again. To stop mistaking adrenaline for love. To start trusting your instincts, the ones that were always right, even when you had to silence them to survive. That's what this roadmap I'm giving you is for. I have 5 phases that you will learn in this series that will walk you step by step through this process. Not perfectly, but powerfully. You might loop back. You might repeat. That's not failure, that's healing. Each phase brings you closer to freedom, the kind where you wake up, take a deep breath, and feel safe being yourself again. So as you listen, remember, this isn't about blame. It's about understanding what happened, taking responsibility for your life moving forward, and gaining the tools to do it differently this time. Let's talk about where healing begins. The first phase of healing is what I call the shattering. This is the moment when everything you were holding together finally collapses. Not because you wanted it to, but because something happened. There was an affair you couldn't deny, a betrayal you couldn't explain away, or some sort of final blow that made it impossible to keep pretending things were fine. You didn't just lose a marriage, you lost your bearings. The story you built your life around, the family, the dreams, the future you were protecting is gone. And now your world has fallen apart, and there's no way to hold it together any longer. Maybe you're replaying every moment, wondering how you missed the signs. You may be drowning in shame, thinking, how did I let it get this far? That's not weakness. That's not stupidity. That's what happens when someone has spent years conditioning you to doubt yourself. When you've lived under chronic manipulation and emotional control, your body and brain get trapped in what's called a trauma bond. It's not love, it's survival. Your nervous system became wired to depend on him for safety and for the relief from the chaos he caused. So even after he's gone, your body is still searching for him, like an addict searching for a fix. That's why you can't stop thinking about him. That's why you're checking your phone, scrolling his socials, or driving past the places you know he goes just to get a glimpse. You're not trying to rekindle the relationship. In fact, I think you probably will admit that you don't even really like him or want to be around him. You're just trying to calm the withdrawal. The moment you see a photo, hear his voice, or even get a tiny bit of attention, your brain releases dopamine, that same chemical rush that used to come after every fight and makeup. And just like that, your body gets temporary relief, but then it crashes again and the cycle repeats itself. So when you find yourself doing these things, wondering if he's happy, if he misses you, if he's moved on, I want you to know this. It's not obsession, it's biology. Your body is detoxing from the chaos. That's why phase 1 is so incredibly painful, because it's not just emotional grief, it's physiological withdrawal. You've been living on adrenaline, cortisol, and hope for years, and suddenly the source of that roller coaster is gone. Your system doesn't know what to do with the quiet. You're not broken, you're coming down. Here's the most important thing you can do in this phase. Don't shame yourself for the symptoms of your survival. Don't make healing another thing you have to perform. You're allowed to fall apart. You're allowed to not know who you are, because this part, the shaking, the craving, the confusion, is not the end. This is the beginning of your nervous system coming back online. In the next episode, we're going to do a full breakdown of this phase, what's really happening inside your body and mind, and the steps you can take to move through it without losing yourself again. We'll talk about how to stop feeding the trauma bond, how to interrupt the obsessive thoughts, and how to begin feeling safe in your own stillness, in your own body again. But for now, just remember this: you are not crazy. You are healing from conditioning that taught you chaos was love. You're not weak for missing him. Your body is just learning to breathe without the drama. So take a breath. You made it through the collapse. This is the hardest part, and you're already doing it. You're already in the middle of it. After the shattering comes what I call the void. This is the quiet no one warns you about, and honestly, it's boring as hell. Your body is coming off years of long highs and lows and chaos. Every day used to be a roller coaster, hypervigilant mornings, tense afternoons, relief at night when the storm passed. But now there's silence, and you hate it. The phone doesn't ding, no one's blowing up your emotions, and suddenly life feels flat, gray, and pointless. That's when most women panic. Why do I feel so numb? Shouldn't I be happier by now? But this isn't depression or failure, it's nervous system recalibration. You've lived in survival mode for so long that peace feels unnatural. The absence of chaos registers as emptiness because your body hasn't yet learned that calm is safe. You're not bored because nothing's happening. You're bored because you're detoxing from adrenaline. It's like your entire system is saying, wait, no crisis, no drama? Then who am I? And that's the work of this phase, learning to exist without intensity. You may find yourself craving stimulation, scrolling on socials, checking your phone, replaying old fights, anything to feel something again. That's not you being weak. It's your biology searching for the familiar hit of cortisol and dopamine that used to follow the chaos. Here's what's really happening. Your body is craving predictability, but it only knows how to get it through chaos. So when your life finally calms down, the stillness feels like withdrawal. This phase will test you. It will feel painfully slow. and you'll think nothing's changing. But in truth, everything is changing. It's just beneath the surface. This is where healing gets quiet and very unglamorous. No drama, no dramatic breakthroughs, no big revelations, just you doing small, boring things that build safety. Eating breakfast, making your bed, walking outside, turning off notifications, going to bed on time. This is how you reteach your body that consistency is safety. You are rewiring yourself to experience calm as peace instead of punishment. And I know you miss the spark, the energy, the rush, but please hear me. That spark was survival. Real peace isn't flat, it's stable. And once your system adjusts to that stability, it becomes the most beautiful thing you have ever felt. In episode 3 of this series, we're going to go deep into this phase. We'll talk about why boredom is actually your nervous system healing, how to stop mistaking it for loneliness, and practical ways to recalibrate to peace, body, mind, and soul. I will share resources, daily rituals, and grounding practices you can start using right away to make this phase easier. For now, your job is simple. Don't run from the boredom. Breathe through it, because this nothingness you feel right now, that is not the end of your story. It's the blank canvas of your new one. Once you've spent years living in chaos and then walked through the numbness of the void, something really amazing starts to happen. You, the real authentic you, starts waking up. And that's what I call phase 3, the awakening. It doesn't come with fireworks or big aha moments. It starts quietly with little sparks of curiosity, small preferences, random bursts of emotion that remind you, I'm here. You start noticing your opinions, and for many of us, for the first time, you care about what you eat, how your house feels, who you're spending time with. You might even feel irritation or anger, emotions that used to scare you, but now there's signs that your boundaries are coming back online. This phase can feel both empowering and a little disorienting. You're no longer completely shut down, but you're not fully sure how to be alive again either. And that's what makes it tricky. When you start finding your voice, you'll also feel guilt for using it, because for years being quiet kept you safe. You learned to read the room before you spoke. You learned to make yourself easy to love, agreeable, understanding, low maintenance. You learned that your needs were inconvenient, that peace depended on you shrinking. So now when you finally say no, your body panics, your heart races, you second guess yourself, you apologize for things that don't need apologies. Again, that's not weakness. That is your nervous system recalibrating from the fawning response to authenticity. Let me be clear. Awakening doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you're finally aware of your fear and you're choosing truth anyway. When I say that, I mean this. This phase isn't about suddenly feeling brave and confident all the time. It's about finally feeling the fear you had to suppress to keep the relationship going, the fear of being rejected for telling the truth, the fear of being abandoned if you stop performing, the fear of disappointing people who've only known the version of you who never said no. The fear that if you show up fully as yourself, you'll lose connection, because that's what happened before. For years, you pushed down this fear to survive. You smiled through it, reasoned it away, made yourself small so you wouldn't rock the boat. But now, as you reconnect with your voice, that fear finally surfaces, and that's actually a good sign. It means your nervous system is thawing out. You're no longer frozen. You're feeling. Awakening doesn't mean the fear disappears. It means you notice it and choose truth anyway. You feel the shaking in your body, the lump in your throat, and you still speak. You set the boundary even when your heart is pounding. You walk away even when every part of you wants to go back just to stop the discomfort. That's what courage really is. Not the absence of fear, but the willingness to stay true to yourself while fear is still present. This is also the phase where creativity starts to come back online. You might find yourself journaling again, decorating your home, wanting to move, signing up for dance classes, creating something new. That's your life force returning. It's your authentic self saying, I'm here. I've been waiting for you. I'm ready. And yes, this part gets a little messy. You'll set boundaries and then question them. You'll feel empowered one day and completely unsure the next day. You'll lose people who only loved the version of you who overgave, and that's okay. Every no you say now creates space for your true yes later. And if you're here feeling both terrified and alive, you're right on schedule. You are not going backwards. You're growing roots. You're building the foundation for self-trust, and that's what makes real freedom possible. Once we get to episode 4, we're going to go much deeper into this phase. We're going to talk about how to rebuild this trust with your instincts, how to stop apologizing for your truth, and how to set the boundaries that don't just protect you, they expand you. They allow you to feel safe in your body. I'll share a few body-based exercises that help you feel your yes and your no so your decisions stop feeling like survival tests. For now, remember this: your voice is not too loud, your truth is not too much, and your boundaries are not mean, they're sacred. You are awakening, and that is something to celebrate. When you've walked through the collapse, the numbness, and the awakening, something powerful really begins to happen. You start to reclaim your life. And so phase 4 of the healing is the reclamation. For most women I work with, this isn't about getting back to yourself because truthfully, you've never lived this version of you before. This is the first time you're building a life on solid ground of truth instead of survival. You're not chasing potential or trying to prove your worth to anyone anymore. You're building a grid, a foundation for what real safety, purpose, and peace actually feel like. It's unfamiliar because power used to mean control. Purpose used to mean self-sacrifice, and pleasure used to come with guilt. Now, everything is different. You're learning to live and not perform, to feel good without waiting for the crash, to trust yourself enough to rest. That's what this phase particularly is all about. It's not some fancy version of life where nothing bad ever happens again. We don't heal so that only good things can come our way. We heal so that we can stay grounded no matter what happens. Because the truth is, we can't predict the future. Hard things will still happen in our lives. People will still disappoint us and try to take advantage of us. Life will throw us curveballs. But the difference now is that you won't collapse. You've already been to hell and back, and you know how to find yourself again. You're so foundationally secure in who you are in this phase that nothing can shake your core anymore. This phase isn't about avoiding storms. It's about becoming the woman who isn't afraid of them. In trauma recovery, this is the phase of integration. Your nervous system learns stability, not as something to visit on good days, but as something you live from every single day. You stop chasing peace as a feeling and start embodying it as a state of being. You trust yourself. You know your limits and your capacities, and you know how to regulate, to ground, and to discern. And because you know how to care for your inner world, the outer world doesn't feel so threatening anymore. This is what I call true freedom. It is not a reckless independence or a total control. It's secure autonomy. You're finally leading your life, not reacting to it. And from this solid foundation, you start to expand. You begin to pursue joy without guilt. You explore purpose and pleasure. You allow pleasure in without fear. You are creating from alignment now, from your truth, not from your trauma or this performative version of you. And that changes everything. In episode 5, we'll go deeper into what this looks like day to day. How do we do this? I'll show you how to live in this grounded power, how to experience abundance without anxiety, and how to stay steady even when life brings the unexpected. Because the final phase, the freedom, isn't about a perfect pain-free life. It's about an unshakable confidence quiet strength, and deep inner safety. You've done the work to get here. You've faced the truth, survived the silence, found your voice. Now you're building the life you were always meant to live, a life rooted so deeply in self-trust that whatever the future holds, you know you've already walked through the worst and you're still standing. And that brings us to the final phase of healing, as I mentioned before, the freedom stage. This is where everything you've learned begins to weave itself together. It's not the end of your healing, it's the beginning of true, authentic living. Freedom isn't about pretending the past never happened. It's about finally being able to carry your story without it carrying you. You no longer define yourself by what broke you, but by what you built afterwards. In this phase, your nervous system has stabilized. You're no longer chasing safety, you are safety. Your peace isn't fragile anymore, it's embodied. You trust yourself, you trust your voice, you trust your boundaries, not because they guarantee comfort, but because they guarantee self-respect. And maybe for the first time in your life, you feel like you belong to yourself. Freedom doesn't mean that life is suddenly perfect. Bad days will still happen. Grief will still visit you. But now you know that nothing external has the power to undo you. You've built safety within yourself, the kind that doesn't disappear when circumstances change. You've developed resilience, not as armor, but as a rootedness. You've walked through hell and come out on the other side with wisdom in your bones, and that changes the way you move through the world. You stop living in reaction to what might go wrong and start living in response to what feels right. You stop seeking permission and start trusting your own timing. You stop trying to earn love and start creating it through truth. This is the integration of the courageous living framework that I created. You've reckoned with the past, reactivated who you are, and now you're fully reinventing your life. Freedom isn't about living in constant bliss. It's about being so anchored in who you are that no storm can shake you loose. You can face the unknown without fear because you finally trust the foundation you've built. You've proven to yourself that you can survive loss, betrayal, heartbreak, and still rise. You have proven that you can rebuild from nothing and create something absolutely extraordinary. And now you get to truly live. This is the phase where your energy softens. You don't need to prove or perform or protect. You move differently. You're calmer, clearer, and more deliberate in your actions. You attract peace because you've become it. Freedom doesn't shout, it's quiet. It's the kind of confidence that comes from knowing deep down, I've got me. And in this phase, you live beyond the story, not as the woman who survived a narcissistic marriage, but as the woman who reclaimed her voice, her truth, and her life. That is real freedom. That is courageous living. If you've seen yourself in any of these 5 phases, if you're somewhere in the middle of this process, know that there's no right timeline. Healing isn't linear. You'll revisit pieces of each of these phases as life unfolds, but every time you do, you'll move through it faster with more grace and with less fear because you're no longer walking blind. You have the roadmap now, and more importantly, you have yourself. I am Janice Holland, a licensed therapist, and this is what I want you to know. You don't have to perform for your life anymore. You don't have to rescue anyone to feel worthy, and you don't have to keep surviving. It is your turn to truly live, courageously, freely, and fully. If today's episode spoke to you, don't just watch, stay connected. Hit subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified the moment these next 5 episodes in this series comes out. Each one is designed to walk you through a different phase of healing, step by step, so you never feel lost or alone in this process again. And I want to hear from you. What questions do you have? What do you need me to cover in the upcoming episodes? Please drop your thoughts, questions, comments below, and I will respond to them. I want this to be a very clear roadmap for you. I want nothing more than for this series to be a lifeline for you as you navigate what feels impossible. I want you to know that I am not just teaching this. I have lived it. I spent 20 years in a marriage that slowly gaslit me, took advantage of me, and used me for every good I had to offer. Gave up my voice, my dreams, and almost all of myself trying to hold together the image of who I thought we could be. And then when it all shattered, I had to rebuild from nothing. my sense of self, my finances, my trust in my own instincts. That's why I'm creating this series, because I know exactly how devastating it feels, and I also know what's possible on the other side. Not from a perfect life, but a life that finally belongs to you. So again, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Let me know in the comments what you're walking through. Together, we will move through each phase and start building the life you were always meant to live, a life where your voice leads, your choices align with your values, and your life finally belongs to you. If you want a resource in your hands right away, I have created a guide for you called Finally at Peace. The link is in the description, or you can comment guide and I will send it to you. This guide is something I created specifically for you to help you understand what's happening within your nervous system, what's happening with the dysregulation, and to give you tools and steps you can use right now to begin to support yourself and help you navigate the chaos that you may be feeling. Please grab that below in the description, and I will see you in the next episode.